You know what the biggest problem is with the Jehovah's Witnesses? When it comes down to it, right? The number one biggest problem is that they tend to follow men more than the Bible, right? They tend to follow these 9 men in upstate New York, the governing body leaders, right? They will give these governing body leaders complete devotion, right? Full trust and devotion, right? And I kept saying to myself, how? Why? Why are Jehovah's Witnesses following men when the Bible clearly says to follow Jesus, right? John 4:16, I believe, right? Either John 4:6 or John 4:16, right? When that scripture says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me," right? That's in the book of John. So I said to myself, how can 8 million people be so blinded? And then it dawned on me, it hit me. I realized that, you know what? Human beings, right? This is a problem. This is it. This is the heart of it. When human beings, they need guidance on a physical level, right? Now, real quick, when it comes to dating, right? Imagine if you was dating someone that lived thousands of miles away, either in your same country, on the other side of the country, or in another country far away, right? Let's say that you had to date somebody thousands of miles away and you hardly see them. That would be extremely hard for most people. It would be extremely hard to maintain a relationship with that person, right? Because you can't physically see them. But when you could physically see somebody in your own state, in your own city, right? When somebody lives close by and you could physically see them, it is easier to maintain a relationship with that person. And likewise, it is the same exact situation with Jehovah's Witnesses. So Jehovah's Witnesses, they believe in God, they believe in Jesus, right? Supposedly, right? But here lies the problem. They can physically see these 9 men that claim that they are God's spokesmen, right? So it's one thing to have faith in God and have faith in Jesus. It's one thing to have that, right? But when you can physically see people that claim that, hey, we are God's spokesmen, and they can see these people, right? It is so easy to put their faith in these men because they can see them physically. These men are present here on earth, right? But it takes someone who can transcend mentally, right? When you can transcend mentally and you can just have pure faith in Jesus, pure faith in God, even though you know you're never going to see them, right? You know you're never going to physically see Jesus and God, but you just have pure faith in him. It's harder to maintain a relationship with that person. It's harder because you can't see them, right? And it's just your trust and faith is just like I said, it's just simply faith bound, right? You just have to have faith that God and Jesus exist and that you have a connection with them, right? You have to have faith in that. But when you have 9 men on earth that you can physically see, it is way, way, way easier to put your faith in these men. And that is why there are 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses following these men, because it's all the physical aspects. It's all because they can see them. That's why. These men claim that, oh, we're God's spokesman. So Jehovah's Witnesses, as we know, they are not critical thinkers, right? They are surface level thinkers, right? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to be a Jehovah's Witness. You don't have to do much to be a Jehovah's Witness. You don't have to think to be a Jehovah's Witness. All you have to do is serve and obey. That's all you have to do is obey. Obey these men. Obey the elders. Obey the the governing body leaders, that's all it takes. There is no critical thinking involved when it comes to being a Jehovah's Witness, right? But once you elevate to a certain level mentally, right? Once you realize that you have to have a relationship with God and God alone, right? You forget about the elders. You forget about the governing body leaders. You forget about the physical. You forget about the earthly element, right? But like I said, human beings, they are, what's that saying? Seeing is believing, right? That's how it is with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses, this is my third, fourth time saying this in this video. They have to see to believe. Because they see the governing body leaders, because they are on earth, and they claim that they are God's spokesman, it is way easier to serve the governing body leaders than it is to serve Jesus. Because you can't see Jesus. You can't see him, right? But you can see these men on earth that claim that they are God's spokesman. And that is the problem with Jehovah's Witnesses. They believe that seeing is believing. When they can just simply have faith in Jesus and simply just read the Bible. That's all you have to do. Read the Bible, have faith in Jesus, and pray. You don't have to serve no 9 men. But most people on earth, and this goes to most religions, not just Jehovah's Witnesses, right? Most religions. Most people in religion, they put their faith in these men. Whether it's the Catholics, the Mormons, Seventh-day Adventists, Jehovah's Witnesses, right? When you could see someone present on stage saying, hey, we are God's spokesman, you're going to believe in that person because you can see them. And just because you can see them, it is way easier to put your faith in that person than Christ, because you can't see Christ. That's why I said you have to elevate mentally. You have to rise above. You have to transcend. Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't know how to do that. They don't know how to do that. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of deep thinking lately, right? And I keep saying to myself, how are 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide? How are they trapped in this cult? These men are changing their doctrines, right? And you know, the governing body leaders, they don't talk about Jesus. This is an anti-Christ religion. The only time they talk about Jesus is during the memorial, or maybe once or twice out of the year, right? But for the most part, they don't talk about Jesus. You know why? Because the governing body leaders, they have replaced Jesus. They replace him. He's dead. That boy gone. Jesus is gone. They don't talk about him, right? And you know what? They can't really afford to talk about Jesus. You know why? Because if they constantly talked about Jesus and everything that he's done, guess what would happen? People would be waking up and leaving this organization by the droves. Jehovah's Witnesses would be waking up. You know why? Because when you talk about Jesus, when you think about what Jesus did, right? Let's think about all the things he's done. He healed people who didn't believe, who didn't necessarily believe in what he was preaching, right? Like, he didn't care about that. He didn't say, hey, I'll heal you from your sickness only if you believe what I'm telling you about my God. Only if you believe what I'm preaching to you. Only if you hear my sermons. If you're going to join, the apostles and hear me out, I will heal you. Jesus didn't do that. He healed anyone and everyone that needed healing, right? He loved everybody. He accepted everyone. So imagine if the governing body leaders are talking about Jesus, and Jesus, he showed a true agape love to everybody. Jehovah's Witnesses will be like, hold on. Jesus loved everybody. He accepted everybody. He healed everybody. But you, governing body leaders, are telling us not to associate with non-believers. That's a bit contradicting to what Jesus did. You see, that is why the governing body leaders can't talk about Jesus. That's why they don't stress him. That's why they don't, like I said, they don't talk about him. They can't afford to, because if they were to start talking more about Jesus and what he has done, more people would be waking up and leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses organization by droves. Because this organization is the exact opposite from Jesus. The exact opposite. Jesus was about love. The Jehovah's Witness organization is all about hate. It's not about love. They don't love everybody. They only love their own kind. Mind you, Jesus ate with tax collectors. He ate with prostitutes, right? So imagine telling Jehovah's Witnesses, hey, listen, how is it that Jesus ate with tax collectors, he ate with prostitutes, but your governing body leaders is telling people, hey, listen, if they're not a Jehovah's Witness, don't eat with them. Don't associate with them. Don't hang out with them. Don't talk to them. If they're not a Jehovah's Witness, leave them alone. But didn't he do the exact opposite? That is why the Jehovah's Witness organization, it is an anti-Christ. They are against Jesus. They don't talk about Jesus. He's done. He's dead. They can't afford to talk about him. Because Jesus was loving towards all. Mind you, once again, he healed everyone that needed healing. He didn't care about their religious perspective. He didn't care if they believe in God, if they believe in him. He didn't care if they listened to his sermons. Jesus healed everyone he encountered. He had true love for everyone. That's how it should be, right? He ate with tax collectors, prostitutes. He didn't shun anyone. He didn't shun anyone. He even spoke to the devil. The devil approached him. He even spoke to him, right? So now, when it comes to the fellowshipping people, right? Did Jesus, now, if the fellowshipping was a thing, if the fellowshipping was allowed, right? If it was approved from God, and if the devil, he's the reason why this whole world is in chaos, right? Wouldn't Jesus have shunned the devil? He could have easily put his back to the devil and say, hey, listen, I'm not talking to you at all. Don't talk to me, right? But there was a few times in the Bible when Jesus spoke to the devil. He spoke to Satan, when he easily could have shunned him. This is why the governing body leaders cannot afford to talk about Jesus, because if they were to continuously talk about Jesus, they would know that people would be like, hold on. Jesus was all loving. He cared about everybody. He healed people. He was the true meaning of love. This organization does the opposite. That is why the Jehovah's Witness religion, it is an anti-Christ religion. They cannot afford to talk about Jesus at all. They can't. They don't dwell on him at all. Because their teachings contradict what Jesus did. Big time. Big time. When you think about it, the doctrines, how they try to isolate people, how they try to isolate their members, right? Oh, don't marry outside the religion. Don't associate outside the religion. Don't befriend anybody outside the religion. But yet we have Jesus associating with prostitutes, rubbing the feet of prostitutes, healing people, anyone and everyone that needed to be healed, eating with tax collectors. I would love for a Jehovah's Witness to answer that, to answer this question. If Jesus ate with tax collectors, right? Why can't Jehovah's Witnesses associate with non-believers? That makes no sense. We're supposed to mimic Jesus, right? We're supposed to mimic him. So if he's eating with tax collectors, how come witnesses can't associate with people who don't believe in what they believe in? And you know what? Where is that in the Bible, by the way? Where is that in the Bible where Jehovah's Witnesses can't associate with non-believers, right? Oh, that's right. That's right. They will point you to the scripture that says, oh, we're not supposed to hang out with wicked people, adulterers, idolaters, anyone. The point is to that scripture, right? That's why we don't associate with non-believers, because they don't love Jehovah. They don't love our God, right? And then I would have to say to them, you know what? Jesus actually healed people who didn't believe in what you believed in. Jesus ate with people who didn't believe in what you believe in. So where do you get that in the Bible? Where do you get that? How is that A-okay? How is that approved that just because someone doesn't believe in what you believe in, that you don't have to associate with them, when Jesus did the exact opposite? Make that make sense. I would love for Jehovah's Witness to make that make sense, right? And guess what? Just because someone is not in your religion, just because someone doesn't believe in what you believe in, right? That doesn't necessarily make them a wicked people. Because guess what? I met a lot of good-hearted atheists, people who weren't religious, spiritual at all. I met a lot of good-hearted people who didn't even believe in God, but they had better hearts. They had better morals than Jehovah's Witnesses. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. That makes no fucking sense. At the end of the day, people should be mimicking Jesus. And this is why the governing body leaders, they don't talk about Jesus. Because if they talk about Jesus, right? Someone who is all loving, all inspiring, someone who showed agape love to everybody, if they would continuously talk about Jesus, people, Jehovah's Witnesses, will wake up. They would realize, hey, listen, Jesus was all about love. This organization is all about hate. This organization separates people. It divides people. It divides Jehovah's Witnesses from the outside world, when Jesus never done that. He accepted everyone. He loved everyone, right? That is why I say the Jehovah's Witness organization, it is an anti-Christ religion. It is. It's an anti-Christ religion. Because the governing body leaders, they preach one thing, right? And by the way, they're not even inspired by God. They're not even inspired by God, right? But they preach one thing. And the Bible and Jesus did something else. So, if you are Jehovah's Witness watching this, make that make sense. How Jesus healed people, right? He healed everyone. Ate with tax collectors, right? We even have a passage in the Bible where Jesus was, when he performed that miracle, and he fed, I believe it was hundreds, if not thousands of people by bread and fish, right? He didn't care about their spiritual perspective. He didn't care if they was going to listen to him or not. If they were going to listen to him or not, that was the last thing on his mind. All he cared about was helping these people, right? Jesus was the perfect example of love, of agape love. This organization, the Jehovah's Witness organization, your leaders are telling you, don't associate with people who are non-believers. Don't marry them. Don't befriend them. But Jesus did the exact opposite. So who are you going to listen to at the end of the day? Someone who showed the true meaning of agape love? Or 9 men that constantly flip-flop their doctrines, that they claim we're not inspired by God. We are infallible. We get it wrong. We make mistakes. Who are you going to listen to? I'll leave that for a rhetorical question for you guys to dwell about. But I will see you guys on the next video. And as always, love you guys. Take care.